This is the story of how we found the mythical 1000cc two-stroke. And then took it racing at one of the most infamous hill climbs in the world. So, what is hill climb? Well, I'm guessing that you've seen some of those video clips online. They're pretty wild and massively popular. In short, hill climb is carnage. The sport started out in the States way back in the day, but since then it's taken off here in Europe, especially in France, where they go completely crazy for it. Essentially, hill climb is a bunch of guys who find the biggest, steepest, gnarliest hill around and then challenge each other to see if they can reach the top. The aim of the game is obviously to reach the summit, but for a lot of these climbs that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. Seriously, in person, these hills look more like cliff faces. Honestly, video will just never do them justice. And because of that, a lot of people never even make it near the top. And some of these climbs have never been successfully summited on two wheels. So the results of these competitions are decided by how high a rider climbs, and that is determined by where the bike lands if there is a crash. But in the result that two riders actually do make it to the summit, the winner is decided by whoever made it there fastest after the gate drop. And there are essentially two different versions of hill climb. There are the ones where competitors use regular motocross or enduro bikes to take on the challenge. And probably the most famous version of that is the Antler hill climb in Belgium. That hill is savagely steep and is essentially just a sheer rock face, although it's not that long or high. And then you've got what I call the speciality hill climbs, which are massively popular in France. Riders at these events use custom-built, specially made machines with super long swing arms, monstrous road bike motors, and savage-looking Mad Max-style tyres. These machines were bred for one purpose only: to conquer mountains. So the hills that these bikes take on are on a totally different level. Impossible climbs such as Arete and Bresse are not only super steep, but super long and super high as well. Like I said, video will never do them justice. You have to see them for real to truly appreciate the scale of these hills. As you might expect, these events draw a lot of attention in real life and online as well. The action is quick and easy to follow, and when it goes wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong, which never fails to please the bloodthirsty crowds. Like many others out there, this crazy world of hill climb really captured my attention and caught my imagination when I first stumbled across it. And then my interest was piqued to an all-time high when I heard the rumour that somewhere out there in the foothills of the Pyrenees there was a crazy French hill climber attempting to build a CR1000 two-stroke. I just had to meet this guy. We had to find this machine and we needed to see it in action. Dad and I did a lot of internet surfing and Facebook scrolling until we eventually got connected with a guy called Sebastian. And he, along with his friends, had set up a little hill climb racing outfit called Team LCH. These were the crazy guys attempting to build the ultimate two-stroke dirt bike. Or so we thought, anyway. There was a language barrier in the way, us being lazy Brits and those guys being rural Frenchmen. But we did manage to exchange a few Google translated messages, and eventually we got the invite to go and visit them at their workshop down near Toulouse. Like I said, with that language barrier, we didn't know what we were walking into. Was the bike going to be finished? Was it ready to be started? Or was it just still in the concept phase? Were these even the right guys, or had we got it completely wrong and got the wires crossed along the way? We just didn't know. But if finding the ultimate two-stroke unicorn was a possibility, we were willing to take the gamble. And we were willing to jump on a plane and fly down to southern France near the Spanish border.
So we're here in southern France. Some would say this is the European epicenter of the hill climb world. As you can see, there's lots of steep mountain faces around, and there's plenty of crazy Frenchmen willing to risk it all to make it to the top.
We arrived in Toulouse and then jumped in a car and drove out into the country for a good few hours. Eventually we arrived at this little French homestead out in the middle of nowhere, and we met Sebastian and the rest of the team. And they treated us like royalty. We were only there for a few hours, but they fed us breakfast, lunch and dinner. They poured out the wine and they poured out the beer, and they showed us around the workshop and explained how they did things and how they pretty much made everything in-house. And of course, we finally got to see the CR1000 in the flesh. And it was a race-ready machine.
So that is an engineering masterpiece. No idea how they do it or how they've done it, but we'll ask the team, Sebastian and the rest of the LCH team, how you go about making one of these things.
So here we have Team LCH. Sebastian, Serge, Stefan and Dominique. Together they built this beast. Let's find out how they did it.
We're just going to take a look at the first hill climb bike that Team LCH created. And actually Team LCH, they told us this morning, stands for Team Iron Horse. And you'll see why in just a second. Look at that. So this is the first beast that they created to go hill climbing racing with. This is a Jigsaw 1000cc engine in there, so that's like that super bike motor that we've seen on the channel before, those wheelie bikes that we featured, that crazy 1000cc dirt bike that Chris Thorpe built that we featured. That's the same motor as this. Just look at that beefy back tyre with the studs in there. They're all about getting power to the ground, so they're just literally nailing these bolts here to get extra grip. Look at that. It genuinely looks like something out of Mad Max Fury Road. That, because this was the first bike that they built for hill climbing, they was actually quite scared of wrecking it. Obviously you've seen the carnage videos at hill climbs, the bikes tumbling down a hill. They was quite scared, so that's why it's got this beefy tank-like fuselage on it. What a beast, what a machine.
I got the chance to sit down with Sebastian, where I asked him all about the bike and how he built it. Essentially what we are looking at here is a totally custom made machine that utilises two Honda CR500 cylinders. The crankcases were specially made in-house by Sebastian, as was the aluminium frame. The suspension was also custom built, but that came from a different company based in France. Sebastian said his main challenge was assembling two crankshafts and two cylinders. He made an assembly using two CR pinions and a Ducati pinion. It was trial and error to begin with, and he had to reinforce things along the way. But he managed to get it working in the end. As you can see here, the exhaust pipes are exquisite. Sebastian drew and designed these by hand. All in, it took him a year and a half to build this weapon. It weighs about 134 kilograms and cost Sebastian about 10,000 euros in parts. But the time, knowledge and the skill needed to produce something like this is obviously priceless. In terms of horsepower, Sebastian didn't have an answer for us at the time. It's obviously hard to find a dyno that would fit a bike with this configuration. But in typical LCH fashion, Sebastian was in the middle of building his own dyno when we were visiting. Sebastian decided to build this machine using the CR500 motors as a base, because he wanted to be as lightweight as possible while still having as much torque as possible. And he wanted to keep things as simple as possible as well, which is why he went for the CR500 motor rather than the KX500 motor, which obviously had the power valves as well. It was obviously a difficult task to achieve, especially being a parallel twin cylinder machine as well. To our knowledge, this is the only parallel twin hill climber of its kind.
So as we know, the bike's cylinder head, crankshaft and connecting rods come from a CR500. It's got a Wiseco piston, a VHM cylinder head, V-Force 3 reeds, a Keihin 41mm carb, twin air filters, NGK spark plugs, a programmable HPI ignition from a 350 Banshee. The pinion crown is from a 1098 Ducati, as is the drive clutch. The bike's got a direct drive gearbox, so that means no gears. The suspension up the front, we've got KTM 48mm air forks. We see a 21-inch rear wheel with a hyper reinforced 520 chain.
Without question, it's a very rare and very special machine indeed.
And what's the feeling, Sebastian, when you firstly start up a bike like this and feel the vibrations, but then when you actually put the power to the ground, what does that feel like?
C'est impressionnant, mais avec la longueur de la moto, on n'a pas la sensation de puissance. Après, c'est très joueur, comme une moto de cross d'origine. Pas pour les sauts, mais sur le plat, c'est assez joueur.
The guys had the bike stripped down to begin with, so we could see all the details in all their glory. But now they're bolting it back together so we can witness the beast come to life.
So there's absolutely no doubting the Honda heritage of this bike with those genuine CR plastics there from a 1998 CR250. The bike takes 1 litre of regular pump fuel, and the tank is actually built into the frame, as is the radiator. And Sebastian reckons that this 1 litre of fuel will give him 5 minutes of ride time.
It's a tractor starter.
So that's what a 1000cc two-stroke sounds like. Sounds like a war machine, death on 2 wheels. The crack on that was insane, wasn't it? So Sebastian's just doing up the bolts again. He just said that when it's on tick over like that or just in the spot, the vibrations are so savage that the bolts just shake loose. Said on the power it's not so bad, the vibrations, but as we saw, when it's just revving up like that, that was insane, that was monstrous. So they're just tightening those bolts back up so we don't have plastic flying around everywhere when we hit the track, or hit the field.
After lunch, and to be honest, after a good few beers, the guys wanted to show us the bike in action, so we rolled over to a nearby field so we could watch Sebastian let it rip. weren't the ideal conditions for the machine. We were in a pretty small, super dry ploughed field, and Sebastian had to do everything in his power just to keep the beast under control. But we were definitely able to witness the raw power on display, and we were able to hear the evil crack of that motor. And of course, the rooster tails were pretty epic as well. After watching all of that, I knew we needed to see this machine in its natural habitat. We needed to see this thing take on a real hill climb. So we made a plan to meet up with Team LCH a little later in the summer.
So what happens with your beautiful motorcycle if something goes wrong on the hill and it falls down? Is that a bad day at the office?
Oui, c'est possible de tomber, de casser la machine, mais ça fait partie du jeu.
Our friends at Peaceline are big supporters of what we do here at 999 Laser. They have all the motorcycle oils, lubricants, cleaning products that you need for your ride. If you head to their website, which I'm on right now, you can type your bike model into their search bar and they'll bring up all the products they recommend you need for your ride. Be sure to check them out next time you need to restock on essentials. I've left the link in the description down below. So, we've had a taster, now it's time for the main course. We said that we needed to see the CR1000 take on a true hill climb.
So here we are.
In July, Dad and I hopped in the van and made the long trip down to a place called Bresse, which is near the French-Swiss border. And that little French town just so happened to have the Tour de France passing through it that weekend as well.
So in case you're wondering, we're definitely in France, but this right here isn't the event we've come to see. The event we've come to see is happening up there.
The hill here is one of the most intimidating things I've ever seen. Whoever first thought it would be a good idea to try and ride a motorcycle to the top needs their head checking.
Start here, there's actually a small tabletop, so there's jumps and hill climbs, and then into this berm, and then they're going to try and get as straight as possible. This first hill, a little more mellow, another jump at the top of there, and then things get serious as they head up the mountain. And I am still absolutely gobsmacked about how high that is, how steep it is. Video, pictures do not do it justice. That thing, that hill, that mountain is insane.
This event is probably in the top 2 most infamous hill climbs in all of Europe, and it definitely deserves its title as an impossible climb. Before we get racing, let me just explain the format and how the event works.
So, hill climb racing, how does it work? Well, both Sebastian and Stefan are in the Prototype Unlimited class, which is the class with all the crazy looking bikes. In the morning, all 70 competitors will get 2 runs up the hill to see how high they can get. The 40 riders who make it up the furthest or cross the line with the fastest time will proceed to the next round. The bottom 30 are eliminated. In the next round of 40, each rider will only have 1 chance to climb the hill, which means that the pressure is properly on. The top 30 from round 2 will then proceed to the final, which will again just be 1 run to decide the winner and final positions. As well as going toe to toe with the best hill climbers in all of France and Europe, Sebastian will also be facing a strong team of American specialists who have travelled all the way over for this world famous event. Sebastian told me that one of his main goals for the weekend was to try and beat at least 1 member of Team USA. Sebastian's going to tell us how he's feeling coming into the race tomorrow, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the event. So, Sebastian.
Oui, bonjour, on est sur la montée de la Bresse, on est super content d'être là, il va faire beau j'espère, on est être très impatient de la journée de demain et voilà, excité aussi. Alors on a une montée très rapide et très pentue. La principale difficulté de cette piste, je pense, c'est l'adhérence. Il va falloir trouver l'adhérence dès le départ pour garder la vitesse. Et c'est on a un sol qui est très mou et sablonneux au départ. Donc la difficulté va être là. On va partir à 70 pilotes et on ne sera pas tous en haut. Enfin, j'espère être en haut comme tout le monde en fait. Voilà.
Okay then, so it's time for round one. This will be Sebastian's first run of the day, his first opportunity to have a look at the hill and figure out if he sets up his machine in the best way possible to take on the Bresse hill climb. He's out of the gates now. Let's see how he can do. So over the small tabletop he goes into the berm, and that does not sound good whatsoever. Looks like we've got a mechanical issue here in the first run for Sebastian and the CR1000. This might be disastrous for the day. What's wrong with the bike? Hopefully it's something the boys can fix.
This definitely wasn't the start to the weekend that the guys were dreaming of. Team LCH had driven almost 9 hours to get to Bresse, and with them they'd brung a load of food, a load of drink, even a full-size refrigerator which they had set up inside their pop-up gazebo. And being one of the biggest weekends of the year for them, they partied pretty hard the night before the race. And with all of the fun and the excitement of the event, someone had forgotten to fuel up the beast. This was unfortunate, but it wasn't a disaster. At least the bike wasn't broken or anything. But it did mean that the pressure would be on for Sebastian's second run. This would be his final chance to move on to the next round. If he can't place inside the top 40 in this next run, his weekend will be over.
Sebastian takes one last look over his shoulder and up the hill before he gets set and ready for his second run of the day. Let's hope it's not the last. So far so good. He's further than he got last time. Up over the first crest, over the little double jump, and on the gas up the main hill. Listen to that big two-stroke sing. Whoa! And up over the bars. That is not something you see every day. Certainly not something you hear every day either. A CR1000cc two-stroke absolutely tapped. And there he goes up over the bars. So that was definitely a spectacular run from Sebastian. But was it enough to advance to the next stage?
Even with that wild crash, Sebastian was able to log a stellar score of almost 180 metres, which was enough to progress him to the next round. There'd only be 40 riders hitting the hill this time around, and they'd only have one attempt.
It's time for round two then. The field is getting whistled down. These are now the top 40 of the day, the top 40 best riders so far today at Bresse. So the competition's about to step up a notch.
Si vous êtes amoureux de la mécanique, n'hésitez pas, allez voir. Allez, c'est parti. Pour le numéro 1.
Just look at the acceleration of the CR1000 up the hill there. It does not get old. Whoa, look at that wheelie all the way up the hill. Hold on to it, Sebastian. That was wild, but just look at that thing pull up the hill still. And he just lays it down there. A good run, a wild run yet again. That was a wild run for sure, but still a strong run at 180.58 metres. So with that awesome run, Sebastian advances to the third and final round of the day.
For the third and final round, only 30 riders would compete, and once again they'd only have one chance to show what they and their machines are capable of. This would be Sebastian's final chance to show that his crazy idea to build a 1000cc two-stroke wasn't so crazy after all. As we've seen so far, most of the top runners here are riding bikes powered by huge, powerful road bike motors like the GSX-R 1000. Sebastian is essentially the lone two-stroke out on the mountain today. There was a bike powered by a 700cc Zabel motor and one powered by a KX500 as well, but they didn't make it past the early rounds. So I think it's safe to say that in the hill climb world, the popular thinking is that two-strokes just aren't man enough for the job. But all Sebastian needs to do is get the beast somewhere near the top and he'll have the entire paddock talking. Let's see what he can do.
Can he conquer the Bresse hill, the Bresse impossible climb? We're about to find out. We're getting geared up for Sebastian's final run of the weekend here. What a wild ride it's been for Sebastian and the CR1000. It's all or nothing now. Let's do it. He's off then for the final run of the day for the CR1000 two-stroke. Now that he's got a decent climb under his belt, he's going to be a lot more confident. He knows what his machine's capable of. He knows how the hill is shaping up now. Let's see what he can do. Up he goes on the gas, looking good so far. That CR1000 showing everyone here what it's made of. He's reaching the top. Can he make it over? Not quite. What an awesome run from Sebastian there. He's going to have the honour of having his bike, the only CR1000 in the world, being craned up out of the way. I think we're going to have one happy Frenchman on our hands. With that awesome climb of 201 metres, Sebastian will place 21st position overall. And he was able to finish in front of one of the American riders.